Hi guys, just wanted to do a quick guide on sort of the fastest way to farm catalysts and activators. So catalysts and activators are one of the most important items in the game. Sort of makes a massive difference in terms of how strong your guns are or how strong your descendants are, because it's going to allow you to put more mods on and sort of higher level mods. So you definitely want as sort of many of them as possible. But they can be a bit of a pain to farm, and so I'll just sort of run through how you want to farm each item for the catalysts and activators. So starting with the catalysts, the murky energy residue, you're going to want to go farm normal mode forgottens. So reason being is normal mode, it's much quicker to get to the yellow health boss, and it's the yellow health boss that will be dropping these items, and it isn't really a difference in terms of how many you get between hard or normal mode. So definitely do normal mode forgottens, and what you'll do is you'll pretty much just run straight through until you get to that first yellow health boss. It will drop around about 15 or so, so it's actually a really nice drop, and it will only take about a minute and a half, 2 minutes per run, and all you do is you'll sort of back out and go back in and reset sort of as many times as you want to get the item. So for the second part, the macro molecule biogel, you don't really have too much choice. You're going to have to pick one of the outposts. Now all in all, the normal modes are going to be slightly quicker, but the hard modes really aren't too much more difficult or too much slower. So what I'd say is check out the hard mode outpost, see if there's any amorphous materials that you are currently after, and then pick your outpost based on that. But really you get about 20 per drop regardless of normal or hard, and it takes about the same time, so whichever outpost you like, just sort of pick. So for the next part, the mixed energy residue, so this is just simply through encrypted storage boxes. So of course I would advise having Enzo, it's going to make your life much easier. And then what I like to do is I will sort of TP to this spot here in Vermilion Waste, and I'll sort of TP to this spot here in the Remnant, and you'll sort of bounce between these two TPs, you'll spawn in, you'll do a quick scan sort of left and right. If you hear a beep, go for it. If not, just go and teleport to the other place. I'll put some footage on just to show you roughly what I do, but it is as simple as that. You bounce between the spawn points, you listen out for a ping, and if you get it, you go for it. The reason why I like to TP between these two spots is there are a lot of the encrypted vaults right at the spawn, so you're able to farm the item much quicker. My other suggestion would be to make sure you've got a memory external component that has the increased search radius for your pings. Basically, it's not essential, but it is just a nice to have. So for the next part, the advanced neural circuit, White Knight Gulch is where you're going to want to get all those. And so really there's two good options. So you have this mission up here, the Fortress Outskirts, and you've probably seen this mission a ton from sort of different YouTubers, because it also happens to be a pretty solid golden XP and Kuiper farm. But what you'll do is you will start the mission, you'll kill the first few wave of enemies at the front, and then you'll come up to 4 sort of points that you have to activate, and you'll have to sort of defend them. And what you do, you want to activate them all at the same time. A ton of enemies will spawn in, you'll just sort of kill them, and whilst you're sort of fighting them, 4 yellow health bosses will spawn in. You'll sort of kill them, finish that part of the mission, and then you can go and finish the mission by killing the 5th yellow health boss. So you sort of have 5 chances to get this item, and you get about 4 or 5 per time. So it's a really nice one, and it only takes about 3 minutes per run. Your other option is the Orders Veil. Now this one only spawns sort of 3 yellow health bosses, but it only takes 2 minutes per run. I would say overall the mission up here, Fortress Outskirts, is going to be slightly quicker, but if you're wanting to use a lower level Descendant that might not have as much HP or tankiness, then I'd say go for the Orders Veil first, because with the amount of enemies that end up spawning in the Fortress Outskirts, you can die quite easily. But really, both are good options. And for the main part, the actual Catalyst blueprint itself, I'm going to give you a few options. So my favourites are pattern 60 and pattern 62. So this is the option that you'll want to do if you prefer to farm void fusion reactors, and reason being is pattern 62, to unlock it you need monomer as the main void shard, and monomer is by far the quickest void shard to farm, and so it's nice and quick there. And then on top of that, this has one of the easiest bosses to fight at the void fusion reactor itself. It's just 2 yellow health bosses that don't particularly do too much damage, and they don't really tank too much damage, so you can get through this very, very quickly. And what I would suggest, and I'll explain why in a moment, is using Sharon for this, because while 62 you don't need Sharon for, 63 you do need Sharon for, and I'll explain why that's sort of important when we go on to the activators, although you can probably guess why. The other option of 60, again another void fusion reactor option, is pretty much the same reason. It uses monomer as the primary, again, so a fantastic shard, and also the boss extremely easy. Same as for 62, you are going to want to use Sharon, because even though you don't need Sharon for pattern 60, you can get pattern 61 by using Sharon. And again, I will explain why that's important in a moment. Now, if you're someone who prefers to go through the intercept battles, and to be honest, Insect Battle is going to be the faster route all in all, but I like to give options because it can get boring farming the same thing back to back. But the best outright option is going to be pattern 78, and so the reason for that is pattern 78 is an extremely fast farm. It takes around 5 minutes per run to get the amorphous material itself, and with it being a hard mode sort of dungeon mission, you can actually guarantee yourself 2 amorphous materials per run, so you're talking 2.5 minutes per amorphous material, which is sort of a fantastic speed to get it. And then on top of that, for pattern 78 you fight Devourer, and there's a reason why most YouTubers tend to show Devourer for their boss killing builds. It's because it is easily the fastest boss to kill. There's so many builds out there that you can kill this boss with in under a minute, so you're talking on average about 3.5 minutes per Catalyst blueprint attempt. You can't really get better than that. And just to quickly show you what I mean by being able to guarantee yourself 2 amorphous materials per run, so you can see here the kill score is at 100%, so this is just your standard settings for one of the sort of dungeon runs, and at 100% you have a 100% chance to get a singular amorphous material. Now you can see here for the second amorphous material you want to be hitting 40,500 score, so then you'll have a 100% chance of getting the first amorphous material and a 100% chance of getting the second amorphous material. So to do that you're going to want to re-roll using this button here until you get to about 220%. What that's going to do is, by running through the whole mission, as long as you're not just missing a ton of enemies, you're going to be able to guarantee yourself that 40,500 score, and it's going to get you that second amorphous material guaranteed. I would always suggest doing this if you're able to complete the mission, of course. The only thing I would suggest looking out for is grappling hook disabled and sprint speed disabled, because that's just going to slow you down quite a bit. So just keep rolling until you get to 220% or above without grappling hook or sprint speed disabled. Also look out for jumping disabled. You don't want to have jumping disabled. So going over to the activators now, your first item is a low carbon activator. Really the best spots for this are the outposts. Now there's only one outpost, so you can either do it in normal or hard mode. Odds again similar to the other item, I would suggest that you go for normal if you're talking pure speed, because it is going to be slightly easier and so quicker. But if this outpost happens to have an amorphous material that you are after, just go for the hard mode one. It's not going to slow you down too much, sort of just decide which one you want to do and go for that outpost. So for the second part, the conductive metallic foil, this is through encrypted storage boxes. So again, I'd advise using Enzo, and my preferred spawn points are here in the ruins, here and here in Lost Supply Depot. I'll sort of put some footage in the background so you can sort of see what I'm talking about. So all I'll do, similar to the other encrypted storage box farm, is I will sort of bounce between these teleporters and I'll do a quick spin, just check for any pings, and if there are pings, of course go for the vault. If not, just go to the other TP and sort of do that on cycling until you have the amount of items that you want. So for the next part, the heat plasma battery, you're going to want to go on hard mode, old mystery. And so what you're going to want to do is you're going to pretty much just run straight through until you get to a room where it's going to ask you to destroy 6 Kuiper circles. You know, we have to sort of stand in the circle for 10 to 15 seconds to destroy them. And what you do is it's going to start a 5-minute counter. You'll pretty much just wait around in that room, and in that time about 5 yellow health bar bosses will spawn in, and they all have a chance at dropping these, and they drop around about 10 per drop. So you're talking about 50 per run of this, and it takes you around 6 minutes all in all, sort of a minute to get to the room, and then that sort of 5-minute counter as it goes down as you're sort of waiting in that room. So it's actually not too bad, sort of getting 50 per 6 minutes. And so once you got to that sort of 30 seconds and the bosses have stopped spawning in, you have sort of 2 options. If you're only wanting to farm these heat plasma batteries and you're not wanting to continue the dungeon, let the timer run down to 0, the mission will fail, and then you can sort of restart from within the mission. Otherwise, what I'd suggest is you break 5 out of 6 of the Kuiper shards whilst you're sort of in that room and the countdown's going down. And then once you get to 30 seconds, then you'll break the last one and you can sort of continue through the dungeon as is, and then sort of restart once you've done the dungeon. The only thing I'll say is if you are planning on only farming the heat plasma batteries and not finishing the dungeon, then do this on private. You don't want to sort of be backing out and ruining the sort of run for whoever you're playing with. And the next item, the polyatomic ion particle. The best mission for this is going to be the command relay mission in Fortress. You're pretty much just going to run this on repeat. 3 bosses spawn in, 2 of which are yellow health bosses. One is one of the ones that has sort of the immunity phase with the spheres, and you're just going to sort of kill them. They have a chance of dropping the item, and you're just going to rinse and repeat that mission. They tend to drop around about 15 per drop, so it's not a too bad a farm really. And then lastly, the energy activator blueprint. You're pretty much going to use the same farms as you did for the Catalyst blueprint, just instead of going for the even numbers, you're going to be going for the odd numbers. So as mentioned, pattern 61, the reason why I said to use Sharon when farming for pattern 60 is because 61 drops from here as well. So you're sort of farming both in one. It's sort of a perfect farm really. And then same here, pattern 63 is what you're going to want, and that's farmed alongside pattern 62, so again you want to use Sharon for that. And then your last option, if you do prefer to do the intercept battles rather than the void fusion reactors, is going to be pattern 79. So same as with pattern 78 for the catalyst farm, you're going to want to start modifying the difficulty settings to guarantee yourself 2 of these patterns per dungeon run. It's just going to pretty much double how quickly that you can farm these. So yeah, that's it in terms of the fast way to farm these. Hope that helped. Thanks.